Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Fasciano. Today is Monday. I have an in-depth whiskey review for you. Today, we're looking at the Sagamore Rye, the 10-year. Just like always, we're going to pour it, nose it, taste it, talk about it a little bit. I'm going to add some water to it a little bit later on, and then I'm going to give it a score at the very end of the video. So before I get into this, just a reminder, I do have an October giveaway happening. If you're interested in supporting the channel, all of the rules to the giveaway are in the description below. Unfortunately, it's US participants only. I can't ship anything overseas. And if you watch this video and you end up liking what I'm doing, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Click on that bell notification because I produce videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All right, let's get this thing on the nose. It smells absolutely amazing. It's coming in at 110.8 proof. It is a straight rye whiskey. Like I had mentioned, it's aged 10 years. This is not Sagamore Spirit's own distillate. They source this from MGP or Ross and Squibb. But it is bottled by Sagamore Spirits, and they're in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, I do need a little bit of help here on the mash bill. I've seen some reviews that are saying that this is a proprietary mash bill of just a high rye bourbon, and then there's another one where I see, or some articles that I've read, where this is a combination. It's a blend of two rye mash bills, one a 95.5 rye, and then the other one is a 52% rye, 43% corn, and 5% malted barley. I'm not sure where that actually came from, so I do need some help in the description below, or the comments below, if that's right or wrong. It is a 750 milliliter bottle, and I have the batch 3A, and I paid $74.99. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and anytime I give a price, it's always a price before tax. All right, so on the nose, I'm definitely getting rye vibes. I do have a pine note coming through, but then behind, immediately following that pine note, it is a burst of light, fleshy fruits like apples and peaches and pear. It does come across as a little bit floral, and I'm not the biggest floral person. Floral or florality in a whiskey comes across as like flower stems or some sort of waxy substance on floral stems or flower stems, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. But I think everything else that's in the glass is overpowering that, and it is just a glorious nose. If a pear, peach, pineapple, not a pineapple, if a pear and a peach, along with maybe a little bit of strawberry, if those would grow on pine trees, I think that whole experience is what I'm getting on the nose, and it's absolutely amazing. The rye spice is coming through as a little bit of Christmas spice, cinnamon, a little bit of black pepper. It's absolutely amazing. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. Cheers, everybody. There is no way around this. I absolutely love this. Every single thing that I'm getting on the nose, with the exception of the florality, is coming through on the palate. This is a sweet fruit bomb balanced really well with the rye spice. Peach, pear, apple, strawberry, a little bit of caramel, a little bit of oak. Not a whole lot of oak. Being 10 years of age, I thought it would sink in a little bit more. I usually get a lot of tannins or a tannic note mid-palate that usually sinks underneath my tongue. I'm not really picking that up here, which I think in a way it's good, because it's my personal feeling that the oakiness could be a detriment to the light, subtle flavors of those fruit notes. This is dancing on my tongue with really good flavor. I wouldn't say that the finish is very long, and it really does just wash over the tongue with an extraordinary amount of sweetness. Touch of tannin, and then on the finish, as I'm sitting here talking and thinking about it, that's where the oak is starting to sink in a little bit. There is a tannic bitterness that I wouldn't say is bad, but it's there just adding another level of complexity. And by no means would I say that this is very complex. It just has really good flavors. They don't change very much. I mean, it's pretty consistent from the arrival to mid-palate to finish, but everything about this is just solid. Good proof, good flavor, good balance of sweet and spice. light fruits with a very slight touch of oak. That was my first sip. Had a lot to say on that one. So let me get a second sip in, let it sink in a little bit more, concentrate on some more of the notes, add water to it, talk about it, and then give it a score. Second sip. All right, as I brought that up to my nose to take a second sip, not through my nose, but when I went to take a second sip, as I was breathing in through my nose, I got a really big blast of butterscotch too. And then quickly followed by that rye, that pine note, the rye spice. And then again, it just bursts with a bunch of sweetness, fruit sweetness. Yeah, there's a little bit of vanilla, there's a little bit of caramel, and again, a hint of the oak. But man, I really enjoy this. Over the past year or so, I've enjoyed more and more ryes. Typically, when I first started, my palate was not suited for the rye spice. But over the past year, I think my palate has changed a bit to liking a little bit more of a spicy pour. Granted, it still needs to be balanced with the sweet, and I think this is a fantastic balancing act. Nothing up over the top, just a very solid rye, a 10-year rye. Let me add a little bit of water to this and then talk a little bit about Sagamore Spirits, or at least a little bit of something that I found. So Sagamore Spirits was founded in 2013 by somebody from the Under Armour Corporation. Looking at his name here, Kevin Plank. So Kevin Plank was an executive chairman and a brand chief, and they had recently sold to an Italian beverage company. And I don't know how to pronounce it, Ilva Serrana, something like that. And I'm not exactly sure if Kevin Plank is still involved. So when they sold, I think he sold off his majority ownership in the company, and I don't know his status. Distilleries change so much, and they're bought and sold like crazy. Master distillers come and go. By the time this airs, there could be something completely different at Sagamore. Ilva Serrano could have sold to Diageo. I don't know. God, I hope not. And speaking of ryes, this is a Maryland rye. And the only other one out there that I can think of offhand would be a Pennsylvania rye. So when I hear that this is a Maryland rye compared to a Pennsylvania rye, I think the differences between the two, Maryland ryes could tend to be, or should be, or could be coming across as more of a fruit-forward, sweeter type of rye, and a Pennsylvania rye would come across as a little bit more spice-heavy, like a traditional rye would be. And I'm pretty sure my palate rests more on the Maryland rye, the fruitier, sweeter side of things. Maybe a little bit more like a bourbon drinker's rye. But like I had mentioned, I'm also not a very floral person, and I think Maryland ryes also could come across as a little bit floral. And it's definitely coming across floral in the glass, but not on the palate. Like on the nose, it's floral, but on the palate, not picking that up. And I'm thankful for that because, like I said, I'm not a very floral type person. All right, I think that should be enough. If there's any other information that you want to share with Sagamore Spirits, let me know in the comments down below. I also need to mention that they are distilling their own stuff. And I just looked at SLB. They just did a review on a Sagamore Spirit bourbon. So apparently now they're distilling their own bourbon, and they are distilling their own rye. But from these releases, it's definitely their sourced stuff from Indiana. If you have had any of their own distillate, I know they did a bottled and bond, which was a 4-year, and they used their own rye in that. I haven't seen it. I haven't tried it, so I don't know how their own whiskey compares to what they're sourcing. If you've had it, let me know. Good, bad, indifferent. Can you tell the difference? Be curious to know in the comments. All right, let's get this thing on the nose. Like I had mentioned, on that second sip, when I went to drink it, I smelled a lot of butterscotch. Now that's like tenfold. It is a butterscotch bomb. Still get some hints of florality. Pine. Peach is still there. And it is coming across as a little bit more spicy on the nose. So let's go ahead and get it on the palate, see if anything's changed. The amount of water that I added definitely has flattened out the experience. It's more spice forward, a little bit more elevated in those pine notes. I think the subtle fruit notes of the peach, the pineapple, I keep on saying pineapple, the peach, the apple, and the pear, all of those are now taking a back seat to the spice and to the pine notes. I think if you're looking for a little bit more of an elevated rye typical note, adding water to it, I believe, brings out those typical rye notes. but adding water to it also kills all the subtleties of the sweetness and the fruitiness that's in here. All around, no matter how you look at it, I think this is a solid pour. It's definitely going into my rye whiskeys of the year, 2025. And let's go ahead and get on to the score. If you're new here and you don't know how I score things, I rate everything out of 5 stars. Based on everything that I've had, the price, the fruitiness, the sweetness, even putting in that florality on the nose, I think this is a solid, complete pour. And I'm going to put this at a 4.25. Definitely one of the better ryes, one of the best ryes that I've had up to this point. I keep on seeing these on the shelf and I'm tempted to buy another bottle of it just to back it up. If you've seen these in your area, how much are you paying for them? Where is your area? And if you've had anything from Sagamore, any of their own spirit, let me know what it is I should be looking for on the shelves. And if you've had the 10, let me know in the comments down below what you think of it. All right, that's where I'm going to leave it. So wherever you are at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. Until the next time, talk to everybody later. Bye.